Shedeur Sanders is the future of this franchise. Fans know it. The media knows it. Even the players know it. Every practice report, every preseason clip, every whisper out of the locker room points to the same conclusion. He's ready. And yet, Cleveland benched him for Joe Flacco. Flacco's interceptions weren't just costly. They were careless. His reads were late. His throws...
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Target, his pocket presence jittery. Every snap felt like a countdown to disaster, and disaster came right on schedule. That fumble, the one that swung the momentum completely and sent Ravens fans into a frenzy, wasn't just a turnover. It was a turning point. It was karma cashing in. But here's where the story gets even more brutal. Browns fans didn't even look surprised. They've seen this movie before. They've lived through the endless carousel of quarterbacks, the veterans past their prime, the rookies mismanaged, the seasons derailed by stubbornness and bad decisions. This wasn't just a loss to Baltimore. It was déjà vu. It was another chapter in the Browns' long, painful novel of what could have been. And the fans have had enough. By the fourth quarter, chants for Shedeur were rolling through the stadium. Social media exploded with clips of Flacco's mistakes spliced against Sanders' highlights from Colorado. Commentators ripped the Browns on national television, calling the decision to bench Shedeur the most Browns move imaginable. When your team's reputation has become synonymous with self-sabotage, every mistake becomes magnified. And Flacco's performance wasn't just a mistake. It was malpractice. The irony is that Shedeur doesn't even need to throw another pass to win this battle. Every time Flacco steps onto the field and collapses under pressure, Sanders' stock rises. Every fumble, every interception, every blown chance is another commercial for the rookie's potential. Fans aren't asking if he should play anymore. They're demanding why isn't he already playing? And Dillon Gabriel? He's part of this, too. Young, hungry, and eager, Gabriel represents another option, another potential cornerstone. He's not Shedeur, but his flashes of talent have been enough to prove that the Browns' future is tied to their youth, not their past. Gabriel and Sanders are the names fans want to see, not Flacco. They're the ones who can bring energy, innovation, hope. The contrast is glaring, and the fans feel insulted that the team can't or won't see it. This isn't just about who takes snaps. It's about culture. It's about philosophy. The Browns are stuck in an outdated mindset that values experience over potential, stability over excitement. But what has stability ever brought Cleveland? Mediocrity, missed opportunities. Moments like this, where the team is left holding the bag while their rivals dance on their graves. The fumble was the universe's way of saying, enough. And now, the pressure is on Kevin Stefanski like never before. His credibility is hanging by a thread. The locker room is restless. The fans are furious, and the media is circling like vultures. How many more times can he trot Flacco out there before the team turns on him completely? How many more losses can the Browns endure before ownership steps in? This isn't just about winning games anymore. It's about survival. Stefanski is coaching for his job, and every snap Shedeur doesn't play is another nail in his coffin. What makes this all so frustrating is how avoidable it was. The Browns didn't need Flacco to be a superhero. They just needed him not to be a disaster. But he was, and in being a disaster, he lit the fuse on the Shedeur Sanders era sooner than anyone in Berea probably wanted. Because let's be real, the clock has already struck midnight on Joe Flacco in Cleveland. His era, if you can even call it that, is over. The fans have moved on. The players have moved on. The media has moved on. The only people clinging to the idea of Flacco are the ones too scared to admit they made a mistake. And the longer they cling, the worse it's going to get. This is the crossroads moment for Cleveland. Do they rip off the Band-Aid, admit they were wrong, and hand the keys to Shedeur? Or do they keep pretending, keep fumbling, keep watching their season spiral down the drain? One path leads to hope, to energy, to a fan base that feels alive again. The other leads to more boos, more empty seats, more same old Browns headlines. The answer seems obvious, doesn't it? But if there's one thing we know about this franchise, it's that obvious answers are the ones they avoid the most. And that's why the fans are so angry. Because they're not asking for miracles. They're not demanding a Super Bowl overnight. They're just asking for honesty, for effort, for the chance to see the future, not the ghost of a quarterback who can't stop turning the ball over. The instant karma of that Ravens game wasn't just a punishment. It was a warning that you can't keep ignoring destiny. You can't keep insulting your fans. You can't keep burying your future without consequences. Shedeur Sanders is waiting. Dylan Gabriel is waiting. The fans are waiting. The only question is, how much longer will Cleveland force him to wait? Because the truth is this, whether Stefanski admits it or not, whether Flacco accepts it or not, whether the Browns are ready or not, the Shedeur Sanders era has already begun. The fans have chosen. The narrative has shifted. The future has arrived. The only thing left is for the Browns to stop fumbling it. So now I'll throw it back to you. Was that Flacco fumble the final straw for this team? Should the Browns bench him immediately and give Shedeur the reins? Or do you think Stefanski will keep clinging to the past? And what does this mean for the future of the franchise? Are we witnessing the dawn of a new era, or just another chapter in the same old story? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want every twist, every meltdown, every karmic moment in this saga, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Because Cleveland might be fumbling its present, but the future, the future is waiting, and its name is Shedeur Sanders. When Joe Flacco walked out onto the field, fans already knew what they were in for. Sure, there were a few diehards holding on to nostalgia, convincing themselves this was still the same quarterback who once hoisted a Lombardi trophy. But deep down, the city felt it. They knew Flacco's arm wasn't the same. They knew his pocket presence was a liability. They knew this wasn't planned. It was a stopgap made of duct tape and wishful thinking. And then the game started, and the wishful thinking crumbled. Interception, missed read, hesitation in the pocket. Every mistake was like a drumbeat building toward the inevitable collapse. And when that fumble came, the ball tumbling out, the Ravens swarming, the Browns unraveling, it wasn't just a moment. It was a metaphor. It was destiny, standing over the pile and laughing. Because karma doesn't whisper in football. It shouts. And karma shouted this. You had Shedeur Sanders on your sideline, and you chose Joe Flacco instead. Now let's talk about Shedeur, because this is where the Browns sins become unforgivable. Here's a quarterback who has been dazzling since day one. In college, he showed the kind of poise under pressure that coaches dream of. In training camp, he ripped throws that made veterans shake their heads in disbelief. In preseason, he carried himself with the composure of a seasoned pro. Everything about him screamed, ready? But instead of handing him the ball, instead of giving their fans something to believe in, Cleveland played it safe. Or at least, they told themselves it was safe. Because here's the reality. Nothing about Joe Flacco was safe. Not his arm, not his decision-making, not his body language in the huddle. Playing Flacco wasn't caution, it was cowardice. And cowardice has a price. The fans have paid it for decades. They've sat through countless quarterbacks, endless heartbreaks, and empty promises. But this one felt different. This wasn't bad luck, like a tipped interception or missed field goal. This wasn't bad timing, like a late-season collapse after hope had already bloomed. This was self-inflicted. This was management telling fans, we don't trust your eyes. We don't trust your instincts. We'll keep making the same mistake, and you'll keep paying the price. But Cleveland fans aren't stupid. They saw the truth the second that ball slipped from Flacco's hands. That fumble wasn't just a turnover. It was validation. Validation of every chant for Shedeur, every tweet demanding change, every sign held up in the dog pound. The fans knew. The fans always know. And in that moment, their frustration boiled over into something bigger than anger. It became mutiny. Look around the league. Every major outlet, every talk show, every analyst is ripping the Browns apart for this. Not for losing. Teams lose all the time. But for losing like this. For ignoring their future, burying their star, and handing the keys to a quarterback whose tank has been empty for years. It's not just embarrassing, it's humiliating. And where does that leave Kevin Stefanski? In no man's land. He's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he sticks with Flacco, he loses the locker room, the fan base, and probably his job. If he finally caves and plays Shedeur, it looks like he was forced into it, that he never believed in the kid to begin with. Either way, his credibility is shot. That's what instant karma does. It doesn't just punish the moment, it exposes the weakness behind it. But here's the craziest part. This disaster might end up being the best thing that ever happened to Shedeur Sanders. Because now, his legend grows without him even touching the field. Every Flacco mistake becomes another rallying cry for Shedeur. Every turnover is another reason to chant his name. Every humiliating loss makes his eventual debut feel more inevitable, more necessary, more heroic. By the time he does step onto the field, the city will already see him as a savior. And in sports, perception matters just as much as performance. The Browns didn't just fumble away a game. They handed Shedeur the narrative on a silver platter. He's not just a rookie quarterback anymore. He's a symbol of hope, the one thing fans can cling to in a sea of mediocrity. And Dillon Gabriel? He's in the picture, too. Another young quarterback with flashes of brilliance. Another reminder that the Browns actually have a future if they'd stop burying it. Gabriel might not carry the same cultural weight as Shedeur, but he's part of the movement. Part of the reason fans are demanding a youth takeover, a clean break from the endless parade of veterans who've already given the league their best years. The Browns don't need stability. They need courage. They need fire. They need to stop pretending the past can save them and start building the future right now. Because if they don't, karma will keep coming back. And it won't just be fumbles. It'll be empty stadiums. It'll be fans tuning out. It'll be the death of whatever faith the city still has left in its team. Cleveland has a choice. Keep fumbling their destiny, or finally hand the ball to the player who's already become the people's champion. But here's the thing about karma. It doesn't wait around. And every second Shedeur Sanders stays on that sideline, every snap Flacco takes, is another second of karma closing in. Flacco, a quarterback well past his prime, stumbling backward, the ball slipping away, the Ravens pouncing like wolves on fresh meat. It looked less like professional football and more like a blooper reel. But for Browns fans, it wasn't funny. It was painful because it confirmed what they've been screaming for weeks. Shedeur Sanders should be on the field. Dillon Gabriel should be getting reps. Anybody but Flacco. And here's the part that makes this so gut-wrenching. Everyone knows Shedeur is a guy. You don't need to be a scout or a coach to see it. You just need eyes. Watch him in practice. The way the ball jumps out his hand. The way he commands attention in the huddle. The calm that settles over a team when he's under center. Watch the clips from college. The poise and high-pressure moments. The leadership. The fire. Shedeur isn't just a quarterback. He's a presence. He's what Cleveland has been waiting for. Someone who can change the culture, not just the scoreboard. But instead of giving him the reins, Stefanski and company chose Flacco. Why? Because they're terrified of risk. They think veteran experience means stability. They think keeping the rookie on ice will somehow protect him. That waiting will make him more ready. But here's the truth. There's nothing safe about watching Joe Flacco fumble away your season. There's nothing stable about letting the same mistakes repeat while the future rots on the sideline. That fumble wasn't bad luck. It was karma. Karma punishes cowardice, and cowardice is exactly what Cleveland showed. They had a chance to be bold, to embrace the energy, to trust their young talent. Instead, they played scared. And scared teams don't win. Scared teams fumble in front of millions of people while their rivals laugh. And let's talk about those rivals, because the Ravens didn't just beat the Browns. They exposed them. They showed the entire league what happens when you ignore your future. Lamar Jackson didn't wait his turn when Baltimore needed him. He was thrown into the fire, and he became an MVP. Patrick Mahomes sat for 1 year, but when Kansas City finally unleashed him, they didn't hesitate. They gave him the keys, and he rewrote the game. Other franchises understand that stars don't wait. They shine. But Cleveland? Cleveland keeps dimming its own light. The fans feel betrayed, and rightfully so. They've been patient for decades, waiting for the right quarterback, to lead them out of the endless cycle of mediocrity. They've endured the carousel of names, from Johnny Manziel to Deshaun Kaiser to Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson's off-field controversies. And now, when they finally have someone who looks like the guy, the team benches him for Joe Flacco. Imagine the audacity. Imagine looking your fan base in the eye and saying, "We know Shedeur is exciting, but trust us, Joe Flacco's our man." That's not just wrong, it's insulting. And the locker room? Don't think for a second they didn't notice. Players know who gives them the best chance to win. They see the throws Shedeur makes in practice. They feel his energy in the huddle. They know what he brings. And when they watch their coach ignore it, when they see their season slipping away because of pride and fear, what does that do to morale? It shatters it. You can't tell grown men to trust the process when the process is fumbling the ball on national television. Dylan Gabriel, too, gets caught in this mess. He's not the golden child Shedeur is, but he's still a young, hungry quarterback who deserves development. And instead of giving him opportunities, the Browns keep trotting out Flacco like it's 2012. What does that say to your young guys? That no matter how talented you are, no matter how ready you look, you'll sit until the coach's pride allows otherwise? That's not leadership. That's sabotage. Meanwhile, Shedeur's stock keeps rising without him throwing a single pass. Every mistake Flacco makes, every drive that dies, every game that slips away, it all makes Sanders look better. He's become the people's champion without playing a full game. His name is on fans' lips. His jersey is flying off shelves. His highlight reels are going viral. He's the future, and he doesn't even have to prove it anymore. Flacco's failures are doing the work for him. That's why this loss to Baltimore feels so monumental. It's not just another tally in the standings. It's a breaking point, a moment where the fans, the media, and even the players stop asking politely and start demanding change. It's the kind of moment that defines seasoned careers and franchises. Because let's face it, Kevin Stefanski is out of time. His credibility is gone. He can't sell Flacco anymore. He can't spin this. The fumble killed whatever trust was left. And if he doesn't pivot to Shedeur Sanders immediately, he's not just risking losses. He's risking his job, his legacy, and the fragile hope of an entire city. But maybe that's the silver lining in all this. Maybe this humiliation was necessary. Because sometimes it takes disaster to force change. Sometimes you need instant karma to push you into a future you've been too afraid to embrace. And if that's what it takes to get Shedeur Sanders on the field, maybe Browns fans will look back on that fumble not as the end, but as the beginning of a new era, the moment Cleveland finally stopped fumbling its destiny. So here's the real question. Will the Browns learn, or will they keep tripping over their own fear until the fans abandon them entirely? Because the fans aren't going to wait forever. The league isn't going to wait forever. And Shedeur Sanders? He's not going to wait forever either. Cleveland has two choices. Play him now, or watch karma keep punishing them week after week. So I'll throw it to you. Was that Flacco fumble final straw? Should Shedeur Sanders be the starter today? No questions asked? Or do you think the Browns will double down on their stubbornness and let this season die in Flacco's hands? Think about how poetic that fumble really was. The Browns weren't down by a single point in a nail-biter. They weren't battling through adversity with a chance to steal a win. No, they were being dismantled, humiliated on national television, and that fumble became the exclamation point. The Ravens didn't just beat them, they embarrassed them. And the Browns? They embarrassed themselves. What's wild is how quickly the energy in the stadium shifted. When Flacco first trotted out, there were polite claps, maybe even a nostalgic cheer or two. But by the time that ball slipped out of his hands, the crowd wasn't just booing him. They were booing the decision. They were booing Kevin Stefanski. They were booing the philosophy that has defined this franchise for decades. The belief that playing it safe is somehow safer than betting on the future. And let's be clear, Shedeur Sanders isn't just the future. He's the now. He's the quarterback who can make Cleveland relevant again, not because he's a miracle worker, but because he represents belief. Belief in potential. Belief in youth. Belief in change. The city is starving for that kind of hope, and the Browns are starving them of it. Meanwhile, Flacco's fumble is going to live forever. It'll be replayed in highlight reels, used in memes, dragged across every sports show as a turning point of the season. Not because it was technically special, but because it was symbolically perfect. It summed up the Browns' arrogance, their cowardice, and their inability to read the room. And here's the cruelest irony. Shedeur didn't even have to play to win this round. Every second Flacco struggled. Shedeur's legend grew. Every turnover became another rallying cry. Every shot of him on the sideline with his helmet in hand made fans wonder why. Why is our hope sitting still while our season falls apart? That's not just a quarterback controversy anymore. That's a full-blown franchise crisis. If Cleveland doesn't wake up now, when will they? How many more games do they have to lose? How many more turnovers will it take before someone in power realizes that destiny doesn't wait forever? You either grab it or you fumble it away, just like Joe Flacco did on that miserable night in Baltimore. So tell me, do you think this was it? The final straw? Should Shedeur Sanders be QB1 right now? Or will the Browns double down and dig themselves deeper into the hole? Let me know your take in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Because if Cleveland keeps snubbing destiny, you already know karma has plenty more highlights in store.